All right. Today I have on the show with me Karla Santi. Karla is the founder and CEO of Blend Interactive. And Karla, can you tell us a little bit more about what Blend Interactive does?
You bet. Well, we are a digital agency. However, we really just focus on large scale website implementations on a couple different platforms. So we're not a full service agency, but really focus on building the more complex websites for clients in several different industries.
Awesome. Well, one of the first questions I always like to ask on this show is what inspired you to start your agency in the first place? And really how have any of your early experiences in the agency space kind of shaped your agency and how you lead today?
Well, unfortunately, you're not going to like this answer because I feel like I'm an accidental entrepreneur, as many of us are that started in web early on. So I actually studied graphic design and ended up at an internship at a place that built websites. And this was 1997. So the world was much different back then, but really just got into web design and development, which were kind of one and the same back in the day, very, very early, and ended up being one of the fewer people that know how to do it. I worked for an agency that wasn't able to be sustainable and went out of business. And so when they went out of business, I assumed many of the clients to finish out the work, and then the work became too much work, and then you make the decision of like, do I want to do this for a living or not? And I did. And so ultimately I started my own web development company, which then grew too big to just be a solo entrepreneur, and partnered with my business partners at the time to create Blend, because in 2005, when that happened, we were both a blend of design and development, which was quite uncommon. So I think at the time we were still just thinking, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we could build websites for a living and make money at it and have something that we love be our job? When the work then became too much for us founders and you have to hire that first employee, that was really the decision, like, oh, we have a real, quote unquote, real business now. And your name is on someone's mortgage and car loans. And that's when things get real. So I think we kind of eased into it. We kind of had clients and the revenue coming in, but had enough work to sustain a larger team. And so we made the decision to continue forward. And Blend is almost 20 years old now. We'll be 20 in 2025. And we've added, 1 to 3 people a year since then. So we've just continued to grow at a very conservative rate. And here we are. It's kind of crazy 20 years later.
Yeah, that's amazing. One thing I'm curious about is, and maybe this is because of kind of the accidental transitions that have happened, but I think you said that you focus kind of on content heavy web development today. Has that always kind of been the focus, or what led to that focus, if not?
No. Like many other companies and agencies in the early days, we took any kind of work possible. I actually did interactive CD-ROMs back in the day. I did macromedia director programming, and so it's been an evolution. But I think that there was a turning point where the web became more mature, and the things that you could do online added a lot of complexity. And we had a really, really smart team that loved solving those problems. So we stood apart in maybe taking some of the more, I hate to use the word boring, but like we call them complex problems, and solving them. Maybe they aren't the most glamorous, flashy, which Flash was actually a thing back then, but we really found our niche in solving one-off custom problems for clients, and that set us apart from so many other companies at the time that could just build websites that looked good. So that's where we really saw ourselves finding clients that were willing to pay for expertise, that stuck with us for years to come, and wasn't that churn and burn of like building a website, handing over the keys and finding the next one.
Yeah. Have you like further niched down at all over the years? Like has it been content heavy like web development for a while, or have you focused down like within industries or anything like that since then?
Yeah, it's been an evolution. I think we've tried most CMSs throughout the years. I think we've been a partner with many different ones along the road. Now we focus on .NET platforms, so we specifically focus on two of them in particular because we are partners, platinum partners for both, and also some headless. So I think that's been an evolution to figure out like what type of work that we do best. But as far as vertical, that's been all over the place too. And I just think that now we gravitate towards certain verticals that require that complexity. So we have two big children's hospitals as clients. Obviously, with HIPAA and healthcare, there's a lot of complexity that comes with building a compliant site. So we do that really well. Also, finance and banking, we do a lot of those sites because, again, we're dealing with sensitive, compliant material. So that's, again, where we're gravitating towards because it's what we do best. Maybe not the most markety kind of websites, but really looking for verticals where we can help come in and augment a team and solve some of those more challenging problems.
Yeah, it sounds like it really just it allows your team to do stuff that they really enjoy doing and they're challenged by, but also solves a real need in the market.
Yeah, one of the things that I talk about as a founder is like, why do we have this company? What is it that we do? What is our purpose? Why does this company exist? Why do we work here? And one of the things that I like to focus on is, we're maybe building a hospital site or a children's hospital site for an organization, but ultimately, when you drill down, we're creating experiences for people that are going through some challenging times. If we make finding a doctor easier for specialty, then we're doing our job. So I think instead of just focusing on writing great code, it's like how can we help our industry or help these industries and their customers and clients have a better experience. So that gives us a little purpose in the kind of sites that we take on and feel passion for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can imagine too, you could probably put yourself in the user's shoes a little more easily, kind of like these are the things that would be frustrating to me if I was on a hospital website, and this is why we want to structure things in a particular way, because this
Absolutely.
is what we would want to experience if we were in their shoes.
Right. Not
That's really
only do
cool.
we put our own opinions into these solutions, but we do user interviews as well. So we do try to not just
Oh, nice.
build websites, but we want to talk to the end users of our clients and really find out like what is it that you find difficult and how can we help solve that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I know one of the things we've talked about previously is that you've collaborated with platforms like Optimizely and Umbraco on your agencies. I guess what has been the impact of collaborating with them on your agency's growth?
Yeah, I think we have found success in kind of being an early adopter in North America for some of these platforms that are pretty well known over in Europe. And so we were the first Easy Publish partner, which is a LAMP stack, which we don't do PHP anymore, but we were one of the first partners there. We were actually the first North American partner for Episerver, which now is Optimizely. They were acquired. And then Umbraco is fairly new to the North American market as well. So we just try to be kind of a big fish in a small pond with that experience and experienced team that can come in and introduce a new solution to someone who might be on the fence about whether or not it's the right software solution for their needs. So I think that's one thing that's really set us apart. We do have people come to us because they're looking specifically for someone who can implement one of these software solutions. And there's just maybe not a lot of experienced professionals that they can hire. So it makes the likelihood of them reaching out to us even higher. So we're always kind of taking a look at like what's new, what emerging solutions are out there that we could potentially partner with and introduce to our market. And that's really been a successful story for us to date.
Cool. So you're essentially trying to figure out what are some platforms that we know could help serve our clients really well, and if we can get up to speed on them ahead of the rest of the market, then we can kind of be the obvious choice as someone who can help implement that, and that could lead to more business, kind of holistically for you in other parts of your business, probably. Is that
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I think one of the things that maybe is a bit different about our approach to that is that we also want to grow the partner network for these solutions, because I guess, yes, they're potential competitors, but the more aware the end user is of these solutions, the easier it is for us to come in and sell it. So I think we have a good history of kind of being leaders and helping other partners come on board and introducing that whole community behind a solution. So I like to think that we play well together and are advocates for a good solution, whether or not they might be competitors in the future or not. The client can decide, who the best fit is to work with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you mentioned partnerships. You talked about more platform partnerships. Do you do anything on the side of like agency partnerships and referring business that way?
Yeah, I think earlier in our evolution of the company, we relied heavily on being agencies' kind of tech arm. We used to kind of compare it to like a printer. Like, why would you buy your own printing press when you could send the finished product to the printer to have it done well? And so back in the day, I think there were not internal web departments. So we were those departments as kind of an extension of those agencies. Thankfully, we never went the route of like white labeling our services. We had always kind of been known for doing good work and had a good reputation. So when we did partner with other agencies, to bring in us as us was actually a benefit to those agencies. So yeah, we've explored what that looks like throughout the years. I think at first we relied heavily on that, because you have an agency with existing clients or a sales team out there landing new projects, and that means we don't have to. I think over the years we've now evolved to the point where like we're very particular about the type of agency that we partner with, to be sure that we are a true extension of their team and that communication is there. If you've ever worked in web development, every single project has complexities that are not repeatable in many ways, and to have that direct line of communication with the customer or the client is really key for us, so nothing gets lost in translation. And not every agency is comfortable with that. So we really do try to partner with agencies we look at as a partner, and
Right.
part of each other's teams. And we do have some strong relationships like that continue forward.
That's great. Is that like a big part of your business, or I mean, I know a lot of agencies rely on word of mouth for a lot of direct business, and maybe some of these partners for a different type of word of mouth business. Um, but I guess what position does I guess what are you doing internally in the agency to kind of try to build your pipeline outside of those um, more word of mouth channels?
Right. Well, this is, I feel like maybe one of the weaker parts of our company, but we are actually still in business after almost 20 years. So we're doing okay.
There's something there.
However, yeah, I know. Like many firms, we are really reliant on word of mouth. Someone has a good experience with us, they recommend another similar company, or maybe one of our main contacts at one of our clients leaves and goes to another company and takes us with them. That's been historically repeatable as well. I think we, as a company, believe in thought leadership, in sharing what we know. So we have acquired a lot of new clients just because people have kind of come across things that we've written or shared, or webinars that we've put on, people we've met at events. I think we're very different than a lot of the other, if you want to call them vendors or agencies or solutions, in our type of work, in the fact that we have 25 people, and we're located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're not an agency with 7,500 people. So you either want to work with a smaller company like ours, or you don't. And we own that. So I think for us, it's like getting to know people. Word of mouth is key, and also the way we build sites now. Our customers aren't reliant on us. They could walk away and manage the sites on their own, but they choose to stick with us as an extension of their team for years to come. So many of our clients have been with us for, well over a decade. So that kind of speaks to that working relationship. And that also helps the fact that we don't need to close as many new deals per year. Maybe 25% of our business each year is from net new clients. And that allows us to maybe say goodbye to some of the partnerships that aren't working for us anymore either. So it is of concern. We're not always in the driver's seat when it comes to those new opportunities. We are very reactive, and hopefully someone emails and reaches out, which is sometimes uncomfortable and not a great place to be. But historically, knock on all the wood, it's worked for us in the past, and we're definitely working on having a louder voice in the industry and becoming better known.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, kind of having the stability from these longer term clients. And I think one of the things we had chatted about previously was that you kind of have a more conservative financial approach too, that has helped you kind of weather the economic storms that have happened over the past 20 years. I'm sure there are other agencies who would love to kind of understand a little bit more of your thinking around there and how they can maybe learn from you about how to better weather storms by implementing some of the same sorts of conservative financial practices that you do.
Sure.
So what sort of advice would you give to agency owners out there?
Be conservative. I think that all of the founders of this company, both Joe Kepley and I own the company 50-50 now. We both came from less than ideal business models before this. I have worked for firms that, my paycheck bounced. Not great as far as like financial stability. I worked for a firm that, was really trying to close new business to get a deposit to pay for the things that were already overdue. So obviously you're backwards and upside down in every way when that's how you run your company. So I think we both learned a lot about what not to do. And so when we started Blend, we were potentially a little too conservative in the fact that like we had 3 different banking accounts. We had a savings account. We had a daily checking operating account for paying all the things. And then we also had a separate account for deposits. So if back in the day, we used to collect a deposit before the work would start. And we just refused to count that money as ours until we worked it. And so essentially we just moved the money over as we'd earned it, as earned revenue over the months. So did we need to do that in 3 physical banking accounts? Probably not. But in our minds, it's like, we can't count the money that we didn't earn yet. That's not ours. And so we approached business in a very, conservative way, where it's like, we can't spend the money before we have it. Our company is bootstrapped, so we're owned solely by the founders, and that's a really proud place for us to be at this point. But I think growth-wise, we believed in like stashing away enough cash for the future, like making sure that savings account is going to weather the storm, whether that be in 2008 to 2010, I think we had a pretty bad economic climate, got through that. Of course, pandemic, that was fun. So just knowing that even if things go sideways or backwards, that we're good for several months, if not longer, to ensure that we can continue business as usual, not let people go. The last thing we want to do is have to do layoffs. So yes, we are conservative. Should we be more aggressive and put money where it will grow faster? Probably. But it's also safe to know that like we have some cash on hand and can make some decisions based on that.
Yeah. Well, it's probably reassuring too for your team, just from like a job security standpoint. It's like our agencies being cautious with your with your jobs. Like
Yeah.
if we set aside enough money to handle payroll for a while, that means we're not going to put you in a tough spot. Like you said earlier, our company name is now on people's mortgages, and
Hmm.
there's a kind of a weight to that. So
Absolutely.
that makes a lot of sense. Um, well, I guess one question I have is, you've been focusing in this one particular area, but how do you think about, when to pivot or when to, expand or shift what Blend offers to the market?
Well, just working in web development in general, like we're inflicted upon change all the time. So obviously, what we offer has evolved throughout the years. So we're always keeping up with trends in technology. As far as company growth, like hitting 20 years, I think is unbelievable in my mind that we're still running a company 20 years later that we didn't necessarily even mean to start. But I think I think we're at the point where like we were ready for a new challenge. Like we made it through a lot of change, a lot of economic hard times, just fine. So what's next? And we had kind of been so conservative that we were essentially level for a decade. Like profit
Hmm.
loss was about the same. It was profitable, which is good, but like to be the same for that long feels like we could grow the company and allow more people to work at this great place, or grow our revenue and have more clients that get to work with us. So just in the last 2 years, we have been focused on growth. Is it like hockey stick growth? No. But like in 2024 here, we're breaking out of that level plateau, I should say, that we've been in. And so I think, yeah, we're excited about maybe pushing the levers a little harder and seeing like what we can create out of that. And we have such a smart team that's ready to learn and take on new things that it's been time for us to be a little more uncomfortable and maybe a little less conservative. So it is exciting
Yeah.
and scary at the same time.
Well, it does. I mean, just from my vantage point, it does seem like the while the past couple of years have been rough for a lot of agencies, it does seem like things are thawing out more significantly. I hope that stays true, but that's just been kind of my read on the market right now.
Mhm.
Um, well, one of the things I wanted to ask is really around, I feel like as a woman, as a female leader, you're probably more the exception than the rule in the agency space. And I'd love to like understand your experience, and then maybe changes that you'd like to see in the agency world based on what you've seen.
Sure. Well, I think it's evolving pretty quickly. I think in our industry of web development and backend development, it was or it still is quite male dominated. However, now that web sometimes falls under the umbrella of marketing, I'm seeing a lot more diversity in events, at least that I attend,
Mm.
because there's all sorts of different people that work with a website now. It used to just be back in the day, the people that built it, maybe a web editor, but your entire marketing team wasn't probably in your website every single day. So just the natural evolution of the industry itself has allowed the diversity to evolve and grow the number of women involved. Yeah, back in the day, I remember going to like the Web 2.0 conference in San Francisco, and I had an extra ticket and I was going to give it to this person I didn't know. And he's like, "Well, how will I find you?" And I'm like, the strawberry blonde in the room. And this guy came over, he's like, "Karla?" I'm like, "Yep, see, told you." So it certainly evolved from there. I feel privileged in the fact that, yes, I'm a founder and a CEO of a tech company, and it is rare. However, like my goal is to also be a role model so other people don't think it's uncommon. So I know I have the privilege of getting a lot of doors opened because I check a lot of boxes. And you can either choose to be upset about the fact that you got asked because you're a woman, or you can say yes and have somebody else feel like, well, Karla did it. That's why I will do this too. They won't feel like maybe they're the one being asked because they meet the requirements of diversity. So I do think those of us in this industry that are different we're hopefully some of the change makers, right? Like, let's say yes to all
Yeah.
the things and try not to take it personally. Like, there are a lot of women you can ask to speak at your event. I would hope that you're going to pick someone who's smart and knows what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
it takes a little extra self-confidence, I think, sometimes. But I look at it as a privilege, and I think a lot of people look at me as someone that they can look up to, which is strange to say, and it feels strange coming out of my mouth, but that's a real privilege for me.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned just that, yeah, I think self-confidence is kind of it was a tough thing. Um, is there any other sort of advice that you would give to women founders and others kind of that are coming up, aside from like, the confidence piece that you already mentioned?
Yeah, I definitely would say find your people. I actually just got off a call with someone that I met at an event called Owner Camp. There's typically very few women at an owner camp, but when there is one, a likelihood is that you have a lot in common. And so I have created my own network of people that I could call, or when I'm feeling a certain way, like I need reassurance, like these people have been in my shoes and they get it. So I think that's key is making making a network for yourself of people that are there to support you. But also, like, some of my best friends in the industry are men, and some of my best mentors have been male. And so I don't think it matters really who. You just need people that believe in you and really tap into that security of knowing like they trust you, they believe in you. It's not because you're a woman that you have done these things. But yeah, I think that's key is like maybe just say yes to things and create the people that you can verify things with, your own
Yeah.
friend network, and it's super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess one last thing I wanted to ask was around, kind of blending what you do well as an agency with, the market evolution. How do you think about kind of staying true to what your core abilities are or expertise is, um, while still kind of embracing stuff that's up and coming?
Um, well, I think there are key things that you have to figure out no matter what. It's not a choice. So, of course, we're going to do those things. But I do think that there are aspects of, let's just say, a website. Let's simplify it, just say, like, we do websites. Um, like, there are things that we aren't passionate about that there are other firms that do really, really well. So I think that you have to kind of like find your lane and decide like when and if you want to shift out of it. For us,
Hmm.
like, we're not going to be your SEO people. Like, we're going to build a site that's SEO, the best setup for the best SEO ever, but we're not going to be the ones in there like tweaking your SEO for you. So I think we're flexible and want to learn a lot of new tools and technologies. However, like, we're really passionate about certain things and not others, and we're just going to let other people that are really passionate about aspects of your project own them and let them run with it. So I think it's just defining what you do best and what you like to do, what you get excited about working on each day, because that's like this, it's our day to day, right? Like, we don't want to do work that we don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable in kind of the lane that we've chosen, and the lane maybe just keeps getting a little bit wider or gets to be multiple lanes at some point, but they're
Yeah.
all things that are in our wheelhouse that are directly related to what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's wise too. I mean, I think I've had similar conversations with people and made the comparison that it's kind of like your own career. Like you don't get more like broader and broader usually, with what you do over time. You end up realizing, oh, I like this more. I like this more, and you kind of have more and more focus to what you're really good at, and you could develop a lot of experience there over time. And I think agencies are kind of generally do well as if they follow that same sort of pattern where maybe they start out a little more broad, but over time they kind of really fill out, figure out what their wheelhouse is, where they can do their best work, and that makes them really valuable because they're like the specialists that serve a particular part of the market.
Yeah, I think the challenge for agencies like ours is like we always want to continuously be learning and evolving and offering the latest and greatest. But how do you do that when you have billable clients and you have to like you have to figure out how to do something. So often we will take on kind of pro bono work for a cause or an organization that we believe in to try something new. Maybe it's a new tech stack, maybe it's a new piece of software, whatever it might be. So we do have to kind of budget accordingly to continue to grow and feel out some of those new shiny objects. Because otherwise, like we at this point have a proven process, and that's what we do, and we do it really well, but we can't keep doing the same process. So you have to somehow balance and walk that line of like, let's try new things, make sure we're not cutting edge, not bleeding edge, but like on the forefront instead.
Yeah.
So budgeting that accordingly is definitely part of our plan to continue to evolve and be the most relevant for our clients.
Yeah. Kind of like, here's our 80% core stuff, and then here's our 20% R&D
Mhm.
stuff, where
Yep.
we're always using that to make sure that we're not falling behind. If anything, kind of be the first movers so that
Mhm.
you can capture some of the early demand.
Yep. Absolutely. It's
Right
important.
on. Yeah, absolutely. Well, for folks that want to learn more about Blend, and maybe have some potential customers or people, maybe just other peers in the agency world who'd love to connect with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you and chat with you further?
Yep. Well, our company is blendinteractive.com, Blend Interactive and on most social platforms. Myself, I'm at Karla Santi at almost all of the platforms. I didn't get in Blue Sky early enough, and I think I have a dash in my name, so that threw off my record. But yeah, feel free to find me on the socials. There is another Karla Santi. She looks nothing like me, so you will know which one is which. But anyway, I get her Uber charges, so there's that.
I don't know.
For
Well, thanks
reasons
again.
and other charges.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom from kind of a unique but really interesting and long experience in the agency space. So, yeah, thanks again for coming on, and looking forward to staying in touch.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.